I'm Matthew Izatt. I'm product manager on the Gmail team, and I want to talk to you a little bit about life after Outlook. And joining me will be my colleague Maalika, as well as Michael from Standard Industries. Now, we think about the GSuite journey. Very typically, you follow a pretty standard process. You think about the need to collaborate better. You think about the reasons why you want to move to GSuite, transform your workplace. And then the day arrives. You go live, and there's lots of people really excited. Lots of people take advantage of the new tools that they have. You end up with one or two who say, "Do I really have to leave Outlook?" And what our goal is to make it very much like these seats. Yes, you haven't experienced these seats before. The controls are a little different than some other place. You probably haven't had a footrest like this in a presentation before, unless you were here yesterday. It doesn't take you too long to realize it's pretty comfortable. You like the new features. And you're back to being fully productive. And that really is our goal on the team. So we're going to talk about this and look at it from three different perspectives. The first one is from a migration perspective, the literal act of moving content over. Second one is talk a little bit about coexistence and some of the work that we've done there to make coexistence better, because we recognize that not everybody moves to GSuite 100% in one day. And finally, talk about some of the adaptation process, so some of the things that we have done over time to make it easier for users to adapt to using GSuite. So let's talk about migration and setup first. Now, a couple years ago, I think, we acquired a company called AppBridge. And our goal there was really to ensure that we had a first-party tool to enable you to migrate your data from your previous provider onto GSuite. And we had three main goals with building GSuite Migrate: speed, reliability, and scale. So let's talk about scale first. We recognized that in the market there wasn't necessarily a tool that was reliable for very large companies, so we wanted to make sure that we resolved that. Speed was important because we recognized that if you were a large company moving a large number of mailboxes over to a new system, you can't have it take months or weeks. You have to reliably be able to shift people over. Ideally, turn it on a Friday, and on Monday you switch everybody over. So speed was important. And then, of course, reliability. You didn't want people to show up on Monday and say, "Oh, most of my stuff is here. I don't know where the rest is," and file a whole bunch of IT tickets. So GSuite Migrate is our new tool. We launched it within the last couple of weeks. It's now officially in beta for anyone on the business or enterprise editions of GSuite. And there's three main pieces to GSuite Migrate. First, there's the assessment part. So it automatically scans and finds appropriate content that can be migrated over. Second, it does the literal migration, so the moving of the bits from one system to another bit, and provides a real-time console for you to see the progress. And finally, detailed tracking. So not just see how many bits have been moved, but see the actual status of the file. So if something actually goes wrong or there's an exception, you can see what went wrong and correct that quickly. And finally, in terms of content, GSuite Migrate can move over, obviously, any content from Exchange, so mail, calendar, contacts, but also files out of SharePoint, OneDrive, as well as file shares. So let's talk about another thing you can do at setup time. And let's put it in the context of a workflow. So you want to schedule a meeting with Alyssa from marketing. And if you work at Google, the odds of there being a number of Alyssas in the company is pretty high. Name collisions at a company the size of Google are pretty common. You probably have no idea where Alyssa's room is or where her floor is. If you want to schedule a meeting with her, you're going to go over there and have the meeting. So if you're going to do that, there's a whole bunch of information that you want to have the GSuite understand in order for you to do that easily. So the obvious one in terms of adding information about people is for autocomplete. You type somebody's name, you get an email address. That's something you see throughout the products, and I'm sure everybody here is familiar with it. Another thing that might be a little less obvious is the use of structured room information. So for example, I said we wanted a meeting with Alyssa from marketing. If you as the IT admin have made sure that everybody's location, their desk location, and all the rooms have been entered into the GSuite backend, the system will automatically recommend appropriate meeting rooms, the appropriate size, and the appropriate location for someone when they're scheduling a meeting. It turns scheduling a meeting into something very easy and very fast. Now, I put this under the migration section, but a lot of these tools didn't exist a number of years ago. So even if you've been on GSuite for many years, if you have not added your room information into the system, you should do so now. There's no reason why you shouldn't start doing that now. A lot of other valuable information there, titles and reporting chain. Again, I can't count the number of times when somebody has asked me a question or wanted to work with me, and my first question was, I don't know you, but let me learn something about what part of the organization you're from and how you might relate to me and my team. Now, in terms of the types of items that you can add, there's a list there. I won't read them out. I think one of the interesting ones is the ability to add custom attributes. So, for example, in this screenshot where it says directory, Google+, personal site, those are the types of links to other information. So you can imagine linking to a company directory, linking to a team site. So, for example, on my page, it might link to information about my team so that people who look up information about me are also able to find more information about the work that my team does. And how can you add this information? 3 different ways. One is through the admin console. So obviously manually, one by one, you can add information. If you want to do it in bulk, there's an API for that. And if you're synchronizing information from another tool or another system, there's a system for that as well. So there's an extensive help center which details exactly how to do this. So to sum up, 2 key things you want to do when you're migrating. One is take advantage of GSuite Migrate to migrate your content over. And second one is ensure that you have all the rich contact information entered into the system. Now let's talk a little bit about interoperation. Not uncommon for companies to be running Exchange and GSuite at the same time, whether it's a short-term thing while you're migrating or a longer-term process wherein one part of the company or an acquisition is stored in Exchange and another part is running GSuite. Let's go back to our meeting scheduling. Let's throw in a loop here. Your colleagues on Exchange. And so traditionally, you looked at these 2 systems and you said, this could be a problem. We've done a lot of work here to make sure that this is no longer a problem. Traditionally, within Exchange, you'd go to your scheduling assistant, and with the interop that we have built, it is now no longer a problem. You can see free busy information. So if you're in Exchange, you can see somebody's calendar on GSuite and vice versa. You can see full event details. So again, just back and forth, you can see whether that person's busy and possibly figure out whether one of their meetings is something that you can overwrite with your more important meeting. Other things that we've added recently, propose new time. Traditionally within GSuite, we had a checkbox which said, do you want to give recipients the permission to add other invitees, and then they had to go into calendar and make some changes. We now give you the ability to, as an invitee, propose a new time. So don't formally change the meeting, but just propose something new. And if you're a former Outlook user, this will be a very familiar scenario for you. As well, we've enabled the ability to see resource booking. So if your room information is sitting on one system, the other system can actually see the room availability, and you can take advantage of Google Calendar's intelligent room booking capabilities, what I mentioned previously about being able to find the right size room in the right place at the right time. Finally, another thing that we've launched within the last week or 2 is invitation forwarding. So if you come from an Outlook environment, you're very used to the flow of forwarding a calendar invitation to a colleague and having that act as being a literal invite to the meeting. Until recently in GSuite, we expected you to go to Calendar and formally invite the colleague that way. Starting very recently, you can forward an email invite, so a calendar invitation you received over email to the colleague, and that serves as an invitation to them. They don't show up on the meeting unless they formally accept that invite, so they have to actually click yes or no, but does serve as a proxy invite. And so that, again, if you're familiar, coming from Exchange, you'll find this a very familiar workflow. So what does it mean? It means that the ability to interoperate, especially on Calendar, is significantly more advanced than it was a year ago. Whether it's free busy details, being able to do this over web or mobile, whether using Office 365 or on-premise Exchange, it simply works. Now, I'm not going to get into too many details about how it works, but just to give you a quick high-level overview, it's pretty straightforward for the administrator. We've built an adapter on our end, which talks over AWS, Exchange Web Services, over to the Exchange server, over to Office 365. The setup is quite easy. So to sum up, we've put a lot of work into interoperation over the past while. We want to make it much easier to migrate over, or even if you need to maintain both environments at the same time, make sure that you can work productively if you're in that state. So let's move over to talking about adaptation. So you've migrated, perhaps past coexistence, but you still have other workflows that you're used to from Exchange. And so one workflow that was very common is the idea of shared mailboxes. So a lot of teams work together with shared mailbox. A canonical example of shared mailbox is a support@company email address. So a customer or colleagues can email a shared address, and a team can work on that as a single unit. Traditionally, we've had support for that as a collaborative inbox within groups, as well as using delegation within Gmail to accomplish that. And we've heard very loud and clear that customers want a fully native within Gmail capability here. So we've decided to embark on a journey to strengthen that. The stuff I'm going to show in the next couple sections is in progress. So just to give you some background, there may be slight modifications as this works its way through the system. But the first area that we're focusing on is on the user side control. We want to give you the ability to assign state, so is something in progress, is it finished, as well as assign it to a person, so see who the owners are, and assign it to an owner. So you can assign a task to an owner, and that owner can then mark it as complete when they are finished, and that way a team can work productively together. We'll provide these actions at both the list level as well as at the message level. And we're going to provide other additional capabilities to make this a smoother process. So today in Gmail, if you send a message on behalf of someone else, we helpfully add metadata to indicate that the message was sent on behalf of somebody else. We have heard that this is appropriate in some cases, and in other cases you would like to act as a team member anonymously. So you aren't yourself sending it, but you're just a member of the support team who happens to be sending it. So we will make that an optional attribute in the future. Finally, we've long heard from folks who use delegation that the limit of 25 was a challenge for larger teams at larger organizations. There is a significant amount of engineering work underway to scale that. We estimate we will be able to allow close to 1,000 members of a group with up to 40 folks concurrently accessing it. So when I say concurrently accessing it, imagine 40 people all sitting there hitting delete at the same time. So you can imagine that as a scenario for concurrent access. We're also investing in scaled administration. Currently, adding delegates is a very manual process. The delegate has to have access to the account and then has to take manual efforts to add other members to the team. We are investing in scaled efforts. Think of something similar to how groups can manage a roster. So overall, we are investing fairly heavily in our shared mailbox support as an example of another area where you're used to a certain workflow in Exchange. You want to make sure that you have a top-notch experience when you move over to Gmail. So I think that's enough listening to me talk about things that Google's done. I think it'd be great to listen to Michael Villareale from Standard Industries and hear a customer perspective.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So just to kind of give you a quick idea of who Standard Industries is. Standard Industries is a global industrial company, specifically with interest in building materials. We run one of the largest roofing and waterproofing companies in the world. We have roughly 15,000 employees spanning over 80 countries and over 180 manufacturing sites worldwide. Now, just to give you an idea of how we got here, our ownership proceeded on a journey of digital transformation. So buzzword bingo, everybody mark it on your bingo cards right now. And part of that transformation was collaboration. So GSuite was a huge part to that. So as Matthew kind of talked earlier on in his presentation, we followed the pillars, if you will, the migration of early adopters, coexistence, and adjustment. Where we differed is our approach in actually migrating our end users into GSuite. So our owners were extremely excited to get into GSuite, so much so that they were the first people in GSuite before anybody else in the company. So this required a lot of testing, a lot of work to ensure that this experience was as seamless as possible for them. That also made sure that we had to have a very small coexistence period That way we didn't have an issue where they couldn't interoperate with some of our other operating companies, and kind of went through this process. So this required a huge partnership with Google as well as our integration partner Mavenwave to push through and kind of get GSuite to where it is today. So went through the whole process of early adopters, went through the whole process of kind of pushing forward and getting everything into GSuite. So what happened on day one, week one, beyond that? Day one was a huge promotional campaign, if you will. This was driving up the excitement of moving into GSuite. So there was, live sessions being held in conference rooms. There was fanfare. There was giveaways. We did everything we possibly could to drive the excitement of GSuite, because getting rid of Outlook is not an easy task. There are a lot of people who have been in Outlook for many years and could not fathom stepping away from Outlook and stepping into a world where everything is in a browser. So change management was huge. Change management is what allowed us to be able to manage the change for all of our users. Once day one was done, white glove service. We were going to all of our executives, making sure they had hands-on, expertise, helping them through it. It was a huge team effort. Beyond that, it was continued webinars. So further driving the product, whether it be features that were in Gmail that people may not have known and needed to surface to the top, or all of the other productivity suites that we currently use. What also helped us out, which was huge, is our partnership with Google, and being a part of all of the alpha programs that they have. So one huge roadblock that we had going into GSuite was Conversation View. Conversation View is not for everybody. It is a great tool. I use it personally myself, and I love it. But not everybody does. Other people don't want to see that chain, so they want to see that one individual message after another. When we moved into GSuite, it was in October of 2017 is when we started our migration or our journey. Conversation View on mobile was not able to be turned off at that time. So it was a very tough sell to some of our team to say, you can have Conversation View off on your desktop, but not on your mobile device. With our partnership with Google, we were able to actually get into an early beta program for this, and we were able actually to meet a lot of our end users' needs of being able to turn off Conversation View. So it was a huge win for us when it came to the adoption of GSuite. On top of that also, when we first went in, mobile device signatures was not an option. Now, we had managed mobile device signatures to kind of cover some branding, if you will, as to how our signature should look. It wasn't an option there as well. That came shortly after with another beta program, and it really helped us kind of drive forward. Fast forward to today, we're a part of the Trusted Tester Bundle program, which is a huge success because we get to test brand new features that are coming down the pipeline from all the different products in GSuite, whether it's Gmail, Sheets, Slides, Docs, you name it. It's a great program. I would really suggest if you can get into it, you get into it. But outside of that, it's just the continued feedback that the team has when it comes to improving the product. So I have had numerous conversations with many people on the team about the product, its features, and how things are working. So whether it's participating in a study on how Conversation View actually looks in Gmail, suggested changes that might happen. All of this stuff, is where Google really kind of is listening. And it's a great partnership that we have right now with them because we're able to have that level of conversation. And if you're lucky enough to have a TAM, because not everybody can afford it, but if you can, it's another great resource to have because TAMs will help you bridge that gap for all the different products that you might need interaction with. So it was a great journey. Be happy to answer any questions afterwards, but now I'll turn it over to Maalika.
Sharing the customer journey with this audience today. Hi, I'm Maalika. I'm really excited to talk to you about how we are working to make the transition from Outlook to Gmail really easy for you. So we do it by doing 3 things. First, we focus on what we call critical user journeys. So this is really encapsulating and trying to understand what users are trying to accomplish using our tools. So we really try to understand what the critical user journeys for our different products are. Second, we balance innovation against change management. Because email is a very personal tool, and we realize that, and we know that managing this change is really critical for customer success. Third, we engage with customers like standard industries at every step of the way, from feature brainstorming to giving them early prototypes and actually doing alpha and beta and getting feedback there. So how do we really understand your pain points? Let's look through all the different data that's available to us. So the first is an in-product survey. So on an ongoing basis, we sample some users and just ask them, how satisfied are you with using our product? And this gives us continuous data on how people are feeling about using our product. We also have the in-product feedback. So people can go in and file bugs around what is working, what is not working, and we look through all of those things. Lastly, we actually attend the go-live events. So we go, we help users transition successfully, but also use that opportunity to understand what their real day one experience is like. And we also connect with admins at that point. So when it comes to admins, we have our wonderful professional services organization and account managers with whom we are building deeper and deeper relationships as we go forward to really understand the customer voice, the customer perspective. We also have Google Cloud Connect. Most of you may be familiar with this. This is an online forum where admins can post features that they want and other admins can vote on it. So we kind of get like a weighted feedback on what really our customers want. We also do analysis on all the different support calls we get from customers and understand which parts of the product are harder to use or harder to understand, and we work on that. And we have forums like Cloud Next, like technical advisory boards, where we listen to you and we have opportunities to interact. Please feel free to come to the mic later on and continue to ask us questions. Last but not the least, we have our fantastic professional user research team. So they help us really concretize the critical user journeys for our products. They help us do foundational studies, so really try to understand all the different ways in which people are using our product already. They help us do competitive benchmarking. So how easy is it to get something done in Gmail compared to Outlook? And they also help us objectively collect qualitative feedback when we do share our early features through the alpha and beta programs. So let's see how all of this comes together through one case study. So the critical user journey here is search, which is I need to be able to find an email that I know is in my inbox, and I want to access it easily. We know, anecdotally from talking to all of you, that losing sort when you leave Outlook can be really challenging. And it's not just change management. Gmail has one of the most powerful tools. We call it Gmail Search. And it has some really useful additional tools like search operators. And we think they're powerful. It works for us. Why is it not working for our users? And we realize, so we have Dan Kennedy here in the audience. And again, our great, fantastic, productive conversations with our team tells us that our tools are great, but not everyone knows how to use them. They're not accessible. And so from this, we figured out what our goal is. Our goal is to really make search work for our users and make users happy with using Gmail and being able to find the email they want. So what did we do next? So in this particular case, we did a foundational study. We took a bunch of our enterprise users and really tried to understand how they're using search, when, why, what is working for them and what is not. We attended go-lives. We spoke to our internal teams. We spoke to customers. We analyzed the happiness tracking surveys and GCC feedback. And we explored a bunch of different solutions and brainstormed around them. We came up with 2 solutions. And the first thing we did was take these prototypes to our customers. So to talk a little bit about the solution that you're seeing here, this is what we are calling search filters. So what it does is think of image search. So you're searching for emails from Tim Walsh. And it gives you a bunch of chips that is dependent on what you're searching for and what the results are. That allows you to refine your search more easily and further down. So now you can just tap, tap, and tap and get to that one email you're really looking for. So we make this really easy. And yes, this resonated with customers, and they said, for people who don't know how to use search, this is exactly what they need. They can just see the options, click, and get to the email they want. Great. The second feature we came up with was allowing you to create a complex search query, but really easily. So in the right-click menu, and this is a feature that we launched last quarter, you have the option to find emails from a person or find emails with a certain subject. And this, again, makes it really easy to do those kind of searches and kind of simulates the sorting behavior in Outlook. And this, again, really resonated with our customers and end users. They were used to having hefty, rich right-click menus, and this was a success. So where are we today? We've launched the first option to great uptake, and we are working on the second feature, and we hope to alpha it soon. So we have been applying this kind of a process across multiple of our workflows that we know are problematic from a transition perspective. But today I'm going to walk you through 3 journeys and just show you what are some of the improvements that are in the pipeline. So the first one, I need to be able to follow conversations and messages easily. And Michael alluded to this being a problem. So in Gmail, when you come in, you will see what we call conversation view. So this is a landmark feature, and one that almost all of our consumers love, and the vast majority of our enterprise users actually love and appreciate. What this does is, if you are 3 people having emails back and forth, it just threads them together and gives you a view similar to a chat experience. But we know that users are used to having individual emails show up in their inbox. This is the world people are coming from in Outlook. We know this, we understand this. So one of the first things we did was launch support for being able to turn off conversations in iOS and Android devices, and we did this a couple of quarters ago. Along with this, we also launched a small feature, but one that was a big customer request, which is reply and forward indicators. And we launched this across all our platforms. Second, we took a deeper look into what about this experience was not really hitting home with our users. One thing you will notice is the context of the previous emails is really designed to be succinct in Gmail because Gmail has the threading. And if you want to refer to previous emails, you just look up and the previous emails are right there. But for people who have conversation view turned off, this was not enough. They were asking us, who was CC'd in that email? Who did Jesse email exactly? So we are fixing that. We are creating structured headers that gives you all of the different from date to CC, BCC information right there really clearly. And this is currently in alpha in April. The other thing we did, if you have conversation view turned off, was we had this feedback. Again, we heard it loud and clear that it was really hard to get to the attachments, really hard to get to the smart reply and the reply options, because if you have more than 4 or 5 emails in a conversation, it could be really long. So we collapsed the contextual emails behind the 3-dot menu that you can see there. And this really makes the UI clean, gives you all of the options you need to click right there. On the flip side, we are also looking at how can we make conversation view itself easier to adapt. So it's a very small feature, but we add these new blue badges that tells users what is the new email that they have to be looking at. It really helps users focus their attention as soon as they load the conversation view. So we hope to continue to make progress in this journey and make this really easy for our users. So the next journey I want to talk about is the compose, composing an important email and sending it. So a week ago, we launched personalized Smart Compose. What is this? Gmail will now learn your style of communicating and suggest based on your personal style. In this case, the scenario I picked up here is a user is trying to welcome a new team member to his team. And Gmail knows that this user typically starts his email with hello, and that's what we suggest here. And so through the composing journey, we help at many points. And again, another example here, we know that you work at Yamada Systems, and so we say getting started at Yamada Systems. The next feature, and one that I hope most of you will like, is actually being able to drag and drop emails into your compose flow. So this, we've heard, is a very, very common workflow in Outlook. And this was not something we supported in Gmail. But this is currently in the works. Again, hope to get it to alpha as early as next month. And now that you've composed your email, attached all the attachments, the next step is adding a signature. Currently in Gmail, you can either not have a signature or have a signature. But we know that a lot of you wear multiple hats, and you want to have multiple signatures depending on what context you're sending the email in. In this case, this user has an official signature and a team signature when he emails his immediate team. So he picks the team signature, and this is, again, a feature in the works. And finally, he can now schedule this email to be sent on the day the new team member is going to join the company. So we make it really easy. Pick one of the many default options, or pick your own custom time, and boom, done. That was the compose journey. The last journey we are going to look at is arguably one of the most important journeys, your day one experience, the end user's day one experience getting set up in Gmail. Thanks to all the different feedback channels, we know exactly what users want. And that means we can make it really easy to get those 4 or 5 things done. So we know that creating signature is something you have to do on day one. We know that you want to enable desktop notifications. You don't want to be missing important emails, so they are both a single click away. We've also created quick settings that will open on the right and really allow you to customize your inbox experience. So in this case, you want to see more than 30 emails in your inbox? Yes, you can change it to compact. Do you want a preview pane? Yes. You can now turn on preview pane and have it, you can see it right there. You can add a theme. And most importantly, Gmail has a set of really wonderful machine learning supported models, smart inbox configurations. We now make this really easy to access and explore and move in and out of. So in this case, the user can pick an important first inbox, or in this case, actually a priority inbox. So what that means is Google is using its ML magic to identify if you've got 30 emails this morning, it does the work to identify which 5 or 10 of them are the most important emails that you should be paying attention to right now, and then moves all the other emails to a everything else section that you can get to later. Or another smart inbox configuration is tabs. You're probably familiar with social and promo in your personal inbox, but did you know that for work, we also have tabs called updates that allows you to get all your bills and financial updates, and forums to get all your group emails. So Gmail has wonderful prioritization tools. We now make it really easy for users to explore these. The best part about having it on your right side is you can try it, get a feel for it, and if you don't like it, you just go back, switch around, and you can always get back to your default configuration. And once you're all done, the users are set. And so really, we hope this helps users in the first month or two to really fine-tune, try all the different weapons at their disposal, so to speak, before deciding what works best for them. One last call out I want to make and use this opportunity is we announced this morning chat in Gmail in beta. That's available as of today for you all to sign up. So what does this give us? You can access people and rooms and bots right from inside Gmail. You can also have a full screen room experience inside Gmail. And you can learn more about all of these features and more at another talk that's happening at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow. So I really encourage you to check it out if you want to see what is the innovation journey that's happening in Gmail while we are also looking at all these transition features.